Yeah, it's okay. You're good, fine. So, no, not yet.
In the spirit of.
This way.
respect, authenticity, and honesty, honestly, like honors and acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional lands of Sour First Nation within Indian territory. Home to Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit people who have fought for running land since time immemorial.
Sorry, one sec.
What it sounded. Technical. Perfect, if you can hear my voice, it'd be awesome.
You're good now.
Perfect, okay, motion to accept the agenda as presented. Okay, any discussion, all those in favor? None of those carried.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'm going the purpose of this report is to amend the 2023 regular meeting minutes of council and the 2023 meeting of the whole meeting minutes of council. The reason for the amendment is to correct the motion numbers listed on each set of motions. In January 2023, the town of Cleveland fully transitioned to the platform access for creating and publishing meeting minutes and agendas. During this transition, a technical error occurred and disrupted the correct order of motion numbers listed on meeting minutes. When updating the 2023 motion list, the error was caught and rectified by administration. In order to complete the correction of the 2023 motion numbers, council will need to accept and amend minutes for the following meetings: January 10th, January 17th, January 24th, February 7th, February 14th, February 21st, March 7th, March 14th, March 21st, April 4th, April 11th, April 18th, and accepting the 9th. We have two options. You can either correct the 2023 minutes to obtain an accurate tracking record, or you cannot accept them and you can have an accurate tracking record. And then each motion list you will have to pass for each set of minutes. I've also added the corrected and the incorrect.
The question, do we have to read out all of them?
It would be preferred just for the.
Okay, me.
Move to accept January 10th, 2023 meeting minutes of amended with corrected motion number 01-23 to 13-.
All those in favor? I'm at the carried, Council Brown.
Move to accept the January 7th, 2023 as amended meeting minutes with the correct motion number 14-23 to 35-.
All those in favor? That is carried. Council Hughes.
I move to accept the January 24th, 2023 meeting minutes as amended with the corrected motion numbers 36-23 to 56-.
All those in favor? That's carried. Councilor Wow.
I'll move to accept February 7th, 2023 meeting minutes as amended with the correct motion numbers 57-23 to 77-23.
All those in favor? That's carried. Councilor Adams.
Move to accept the February 14th, 2023 meeting minutes with the corrected motion number 78-23 to 87-.
All those in favor? That is carried. Councilor Donovan.
Move to accept February 21st, 2023 meeting minutes amended with the correct motion number 80-23 to 95.
All those in favor? That is carried. Council Hughes.
Move to accept the March 7th, 2023 meeting minutes as amended with the correct motion numbers being number 96-23 to 106-.
All those in favor? That is carried. Council Wow.
Move to accept the March 14th, 2023 meeting minutes as amended with the corrected motion numbers 107-23 to 122-23.
All those in favor? That is carried. Councilor Adams.
Move to accept the March 21st, 2023 meeting minutes amended with corrected motion number 23-23 to 158.
All those in favor? That is carried. Councilor Drummond.
Move to accept the AP board minutes amended with corrected motion number 159-23 to number 147.
All those in favor? That is carried. Council Hughes.
Move to accept the April 11th, 2023 meeting minutes as amended with the corrected motion numbers number 159 148 23 to number 165
All opposed, those in favor? That is carried. Council Mal.
Move to accept the April 18, 2023 meeting minutes as amended with the corrected motion numbers 166-23, 181-23.
All opposed, those in favor? That is carried. Council Allen.
Move to accept the May 2nd, 2023 minutes as amended with the corrected motion number 22-3 to 191.
All opposed, those in favor? That is carried. Council Allen.
Move to accept the May 9, 2023 meeting minutes as amended with corrected motion number 19-3-477.
All opposed, those in favor? And that is carried.
Thank you for catching this now and not in some.
I feel like that was a speed reading exercise. Didn't count the vote. Okay. Now we have the minutes of previous. Addition to previous meetings.
You pick back up in rotation here, motion to accept the minutes of the May 16, 2023 regular meeting as presented.
All the questions those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, put your hand. Oh, I'm fine. They vote on the last one. Thank you, okay. Councilor Evans.
The motion to accept the regular meeting of council June 6, 2023 minutes. Done.
Also on the floor, discussion. All of us will in favor. And that is carried. Councilor Evans.
Motion to accept the June 13, 2023 meeting minutes as
Any discussion? All of us will in favor. That is carried. Okay. You want to join us? Thank you. Mike's on, but you're good to go.
Okay, so I'm actually back with the customer service supervisor with Apple. So I'm here today to talk to you guys about the registry and the committee. So there is a presentation that was emailed out to council, so we're just gonna talk a little bit about the investment versus non-investment, if you like. So, streetlights in the community primarily that are built within the scope of a development and turn over to the community pay monthly charges. So all the streetlights are owned by Apple. Streetlight options are outlined in our franchise agreements, being in now and. So there's non-investment streetlight rates and then investment streetlight. So you can find our rates on our website. So non-investment streetlight rate, so related sections installed and owned and maintained by Apple. The customer is responsible for full installation cost. The customer is responsible for the full cost of replacement. So that includes maintenance only. The community does not receive any company investment, so this means that the town for energy replacements, so there's a big run and after that we have a party that goes through the town. Vehicles and failures that require replacement, so that is non-vested, the town. Full replacement, relay heads are not considered end of life. That means the town has to option to pay for a head replacement for the investment option at that time. Included in the maintenance is our vaults, but moving forward as of February this year, we no longer release the LED fixtures. So including maintenance, as well as training for pools and minor fixtures. So for the investment streetlight rate, for lighting fixtures installed only maintained by Apple, the customer is responsible for the available upfront cost of the lights. Apple is responsible for paying full cost of the replacement and maintenance. And the town receives investment upfront. And that is for the investment rates, so they're the ones that are. So the next slide, so the streetlight rate option comparison. So this is just the comparison between the
difference between invested and not invested on underlying HDS picture. So there is a there, the max of $2,765 for like two overall for me. So that's your investment. And then if you put the next one, the current monthly rates per week, so that's just a comparison between the invested and the non-invested option, so. Right now, the majority of the rates in town are on the non-invested rate, so it is a little bit less, but we have more costs to take them along. And then if you were to convert non-invested to invested, so there is a diagram there that shows what your investment total would be. So I did have a look at this presentation today and realized that the presentation and investment total didn't include the downtown store, so it is a little bit less than what it is in downtown with the invested option. So it's actually $686, $362.91 what the town would pay. Okay, so these numbers will fluctuate a little bit just based on that, but I have sent over the after for the non-invested. So the number of months investment was paid for different monthly charges was 59 months. Average cost savings for end of life. So the average end of life cost for like it should be about $6,000 per week. So if everything was to bill all at once, it would give $4.1 million cost, but typically that doesn't happen. It's throughout the year. So the town's Slate Lake's next relay audit is scheduled for 2024, which we expect to see 5% of the sale. So this is just part of our payment program that we do. We go out to check for the health of the light, and we look at the balance. So things like that come up. So if 5% of the lights didn't fail, if they would count on about 35 lights, so $210,000 estimated as of right now. And then we do know that 32% of the town lights are over the 30 years. So this can change, like we could do less than more. It all depends on what we find in our program. So just a quick review, the town of Slate Lake has $677,000. So that's what we're currently I need in the last couple of days. So right now, monthly distribution charges is $16,476, with feature replacement cost of $4.1 million. And then the features gave all message, so if we were to use a conversion, they would go up every month the bill, but then you don't have to worry about the cost and all that. So we go $28,000, and then we utilize the prorated investment of $606,360. And then we don't have to worry about any future capital replacement costs. By the town, and then there is the option to go on to the LED technology as well. So just some background to the last 5 years we built the town $193,239 for street maintenance. The costs are expected to increase as we no longer stop yes, you know, these pictures as of right now, but with inflation, these costs can go up, so they have about $700 to $1,300 per fixture. And then we do have our maintenance program time for 2024, and then the replacement super for 2025. So with that, too, like we can give you guys a heads up the year before when that bill's coming, so you guys have that.
following year. So the continuous daylight maintenance throughout, year. Right now, we know that we have about $13,000. We have active voice out now, but we do have some other things we're working on. We have talked to Carlton as well, and we know that it's two underground rates in town that we're preparing to execute and get fixed. So that's about $6,700. That's another cost that I'll here. And just the way things are trending with not having the HPS options anymore, so we're already happy to the year, $30,000 in. So I'm expecting us to probably go at $60,000. Maintenance. We do touch about probably say anywhere between 60 to 80 days a year. So we're on. So some of those are invested, but some are not invested, so we need to see those pretty well. And then this is another thing you mentioned too, is the current franchise agreement that we have with the town. We don't have schedules in part of that. So what Schedule C is, it's our lighting, schedule and franchise, so we could look at implementing that. If the franchise didn't be decided to see this, we just have to go to a renewal. It would just be a year early, but it's doable by the sounds of it. It just has to be doable after it's all set up. So with Schedule C, we would do regular patrols between the months of September and May. So every month we go patrol, come back with the list, and then execute the maintenance on them. Right now that's not an option because it's not part of the agreement. And then there's the lights out too. So with various lights that are identified, we don't fix those within 2 weeks. Then we keep track of that on our end, and we actually give it 2 months credit for the weeks for their errors. The underground rates as well, we provide a temporary overhead repair within 2 weeks of finding the issue, and then we're next in the between September and October. It's actually and we just use regular like so that's part of the how so you know that you like get rusty and not it's income. And then they start adding over every 9-year cycle with to be like that program that's going to take the rates. And then just be like in general, or to be like control, so we have to do the regular inspections after the elderly. That could be implemented by both at well, and then back onto the LED streaming. So right now there is a program out there for LED lighting. It's a maintenance multiplier. They call it LED conversion multiplier. So it was approved by the agency rate. It only applies to message stream lights. LED conversion multiplier applies in place of capital contribution. So this is what $1 to that rate. So we don't have the cost. The contract will be filed with the agency required construction, and right now the multiplier rate is 8.49%. LED street lighting is considered one of the most efficient solutions to help municipalities reduce their energy consumption, its emissions, and cost, despite the benefits of capital costs and feasibility. To address the financial barrier, Apple applied for the necessary approval from the agency to offer the maintenance multiplier. And
multiplier provides among municipalities who pay the full scale version of streaming technology. Develop a large capital forward. So we're nearing the end of our 5-year maintenance multiplier program. So we're at the year, 5-year mark. So that's what we're calling, or that's what we were calling. And he's got a program for 5 years. So right now, we're near the end, and we'd like to get this concept of wellness, if that's something you're interested in. So that would be conversion multiplier only applies to invested streetlights, so it is only applies to 100 watt, 150 watts, and 250 watts, yes, that would be so. Your active fixtures, central lights, yard lights are from the multiplier. So we could also look at the on side of this, if that's outside they want to do, so we can get those converted, that would be as well. So there is the multiplier, we change the billing, so in the graph, we just kind of show in case the for the multipliers. $31 for the team, and then the retail charges $22.74, and the capital charges distribution tax $420. So this is based on and it's also based off of current energies rate as of January, so it's so we could keep it to be a little bit different. So I'm not sure about that. Further energy. So right now, Apple has 83 franchise communities, 57 communities have converted to the LED option already, and 15 for our fire rate. We also have 9 franchise communities that are participating in the program. So this stuff is all is covered in all like on the website. That's all. So Apple right now has 24,863 lights and 22,437 converted LED. So this is also includes our non-invested lights in that number. And right now, actually, we total of the number maybe 4 or 7,000. So similar to what I'm doing now. Waiting for them to sign off as well. So the streetlight inventory available for conversion. So these numbers are fairly accurate. They're a little bit out just because we currently did a streetlight audit and we're just getting about it right now. So that might just be a little bit different. I know that we have more lights on there. We already just the annual savings, so if all your lights were LED, so it's like $23,000 up at the bottom. But it'd be a little bit different, so it depends on the then there's the additional street lighting inventory, there's like filling all that there is on LED already. We have some decorative that are invested and some that are not invested. And then we have some 400 watts and then we have 1,000 watts as well. So these are the ones that would multiply. So program availability, approximately 20,000 invested streetlights, majority monthly converted to LED for the programs needed, and then we will apply the actual line phase to the multiplier.
And then after the multipliers, the invested street rate will be adjusted to reflect any reduced capital costs. We've all have, any questions?
Okay, how long is the multiplier available for? 'Cause I think, I'm new to council, but I've heard that this come up before and it's still available. It'll still be available maybe in upcoming years.
Yeah, so right now, it's. This plan to be for 5 years, so we're nearing that 5 year term now, so once we get to many lights on average, we're gonna have hectares to be removed. So we're thinking by the end of the year, probably the next year, it all depends on the third year and that 5 years.
So, Jeff, fine question, but how long does this rate stay on the multiplier?
So once we file today, we see the multiplier will be removed. And then that's when the cost will go back to the rate, evaluating their fees. And then it'll go back into this.
So what determines when you guys call it, we make that application to meetings?
Once we get, the right now we're going at some 20,000 lights, so once we get that target, that's when we're gonna start.
So then we're gonna pay 8.49% more on our bill for using the budget.
No, so once that multiplier is on, we'll readjust the rates or the price schedule for the regular investment.
So our regular still increase, but yeah, our regular increase because it's all part of solid. So I want.
For you, it's basically they need to take away our upfront costs. So how much more does it cost, I guess, to have a multiplier of this for us to go down 600 grand at one level, one thing?
So if you, based on the multiplier changes learning, so the multiplier is yellow. It would be 512. So that's the LED multiplier in yellow, and then you have the zero rate, and then you have your distribution of your transmission charges, which is your national total. So once they take the multiplier, remove the multiplier, it will change. So I'll look at whether they have no have to do that. It's not like that else.
We lost it. I mean, it's the cost in order to play, you guys like money for the capital investment you're doing. That's what us doing is you're just adding on to develop for a period of time.
Yeah.
It's like a loan.
Yeah.
How does the rate go up once the loan is paid? And then, where you get charged, $100 and all that.
I've noticed.
No, it's great. I'm very confused on it, I guess, the bargaining cost.
Yeah.
3.5.
Okay. I can definitely send some more information over on, if that would work, there's a whole lot. You may have already.
I try to do the, thank you.
Yeah,
Or do, yeah, and I couldn't find what I was after. In that, because it's very vague on how long this 8 for 9%. Don't score any more out of that.
okay, I will take that back. to the meetings.
I was looking through that, I think, what I
Yeah. Yeah, no worries, I can, okay, we'll have an operating. We just don't have enough data. No, not this time.
Right, and you can put the target time to like, yeah, the end of the year to fit next year. We
Then I guess another question would revolve around the Schedule C, so that's something we don't have right now, but it's something we would want in when for this event.
Yeah, that's correct. Something we discussed about the desire to have those provisions and, you know, as it relates to service expectations and those sorts of things. That kind of, so if council was to move forward with this proposal, that would be one of our requirements is to include Schedule C in a new agreement. That's the only mechanism that we can do to add it to help bolster kind of the service and the expectations of those.
We run a scenario. Sorry. We run a scenario to our own numbers. See what we're at right now, anticipating 5% fail rate plus converting ourselves over LEDs compared to take those investment rate with the 8.49% on good and see how we compare over the next 30 years.
If we're just doing 5% every year, sort of idea.
Yeah, that's the average fail rate.
That program every 8-9 years.
So that's only based on an audit taking place every.
Right, that works out to be the average in our history.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to assume the history before, but I mean, your new agents are there and assume that if you have a road failure rate like that, since it's on time. For a niche.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably close. I mean, the 5%, I mean, it's not just the light being burnt out, that's triggering the on an audit they're looking at. Yeah, they're looking at the entire post, right? So that 5% may not be reflective of the exact failure rate that we've seen, you know, on an average. It's
But
like
for a license for the head, I mean, we're talking $600 like that. And that to replace all of ours. Doesn't quite, I mean, we pay that off in years. But I'm just wondering if we can run a scenario where we actually see what, how would this have been for us 5 years ago? Just let me know what we're doing. My fear on this, we're going to see rate increase, not the rate increase power, and we end up having to be more and more. Even for the fees that do change over 8.49%, that's on top of an ongoing increase in fee. It's basic power not getting cheaper. Don't kick myself for not wanting to get 6 cents. But is it possible to get that done?
Yeah, I think that's probably something I'm sure you might be able to produce.
Whatever we did on there, it's 5 years, look at all the lights. Right, 800 and whatever we have.
Yep.
And by one rate, and by the other rate. Put the difference in this material, put it in the top, the life. We're not going to see looking at. Right, and then if you're going 30 years out. We get $6 grand or what now, 30 years from now.
Yeah, there's going to be a cost increase, yeah, like there's no power increase.
But I found that we very similar, like there's no one. I don't know, that was kind of repeat the cost in the 30 years, but I don't think it's great. We're not putting money in the way. Okay, so if our savings have been the fact that we got to pay a lower rate and not get money in it. So it's cheaper for us only because we didn't get money. It only be equal had we taken paid the lower rate and then still put in an honest capital replacement cost, right? Over a 30-year term. There's almost,
Yeah, then we would be facing that cost in the future then. We're going to pay for the last 5 years, we spent $127,000 in replacement.
with more that money from that extent, right?
And then I was on 30,000 $50,000. Then it goes on, we had 1 year at 127,000, we had 2,000. But I mean, to put it into capital, we're planning on having that out, drop in capital, so I would say that's a wash, I don't know if that's necessarily a wash. And I don't know, I gotta show me on the sheet that I understand it better. And talk about it.
We also, like, in the last probably 3 or 4 years, we got better at trying to recover our costs through a lot of stuff. Really, put it that way. So now that we have a process in place for we charge, bill, and all that implemented now, you'll see that increasing as well. 5 years ago, for number of months, just when you take something. Take the dollar.
So meaning the trend, if you're going back, you're looking backwards, the trend on cost curve would probably be underreported in terms of the work that was actually being done. Yeah. More representative of the last year, let's say, you know, or the most recent year, 1 year ago might be more reflective of what the previous four were, as opposed to looking back at those numbers of the actuals, because kind of like Monopoly Bank here in our favor, you know, they maybe weren't necessarily the best at recovering some of those costs, right? So,
I understand that, but I find it hard to make a decision based on. When we're throwing numbers around like 4.1 million, you can go out and if it's go like now, Kevin Coach failed in 1 day, 1 year. Then this could be impossible.
Yeah.
So to throw that number in there, I think we need to figure out what's realistic here. Is it the 5% or the 7%? We want to be, find it hard to double it or double five, right? Hard to make a decision on something that's abstract, when we should be able to come up with a lot more concrete numbers. That's what to expect. And I think this year, we're letting our community into this. This is now and forever. I don't want to do it, but one now, forever.
Not quite that, that was a good line. I'll take it. I don't see why we aren't. And I'm looking at, we've got more than 50% of the communities that ATCO has switching over to this. We're not going back to our current lights. They're all moving to LED. We need to get this done. I have to think there's some economy of scale by having them all changed over at the same time versus the $1,300 per fixture that's gonna happen. And that's the cost now to replace them with LED light fixtures. I don't know what's gonna happen with supply chain, and I don't know what's gonna happen on those replacement costs over the next 5 years. So if we table this, say we're not going to do it, your replacement cost right now, we'll call it in the middle of 1,000 per fixture. That might be 1,200 next year, and eventually we are gonna all have to move to LED. I think we should take advantage of that investment that ATCO is gonna provide to do this. Yes, it's taking over now. From a customer service perspective as well, I go around the community and there was one that recently got switched over to LED, and homeowners indicated how much better it actually was, and they didn't know the street light moving to LED would make that much of a difference. You know, we're talking about things such as safety and appropriate lighting in areas, right? Of course, if I'm on the opposite side, then you move to this.
No, I agree, going down to the straight like absolutely 100%. My question is, are we better off dropping $600,000 to do this replacement now, if you say it now? Or are we better off paying 8.49% on top of the increased rates for the rest?
And I do want to look at that, but there's some costs that matter that we are factoring. There's, well, the maintenance costs that.
That's true.
Okay, so there's a $200,000 in maintenance costs, out of which, as we have indicated, that not all of it is filled out, so speak to that, oh, very generous and replacing some of it. So what you're looking at $40,000 at minimum a year, likely higher, that's then factored into that. I think this makes sense to do it all now, because we don't know what most of our, I remember in the last report that was presented, a majority of our streetlights were actually nearing their end of life on their current bulb line. So while we might not see 5%, we might see 20%.
But then, even just a $35 pattern, it's 21,000 next year. Anyway, so that offset, that 40,000 that you're doing.
Why offset the 40?
No, that's 20 grand. 8.49% of our power. What is our power?
rolling, it's a lot.
We're talking 8.5% on that. I just went through the numbers, but I can understand the important decisions rather than.
Yeah,
100% from board gravity, 100.
I won't see the 0.49%. It's all, like, it's actually less than what you're, well, maybe more if you're gonna be on the invested option, but you're gonna be on Like you'll feel that now, like it's not to go off. Before that.
But if we pay for all this up front, there would be a multiplier, right? Correct. Even if you want to.
I see both points, both excellent. I think for me today, I am leaning towards, agreeing with Councilor Adams and the fact that I'd like to see more numbers and just a little bit more for me to feel comfortable making a decision on this. I really want to have all the, as much accurate data as possible, and I would this today, that's just in person.
If we don't, if we don't switch by the end of this program, then this $693, whatever it doesn't provide, but that's not.
Well, that's always been, I think that part's always been there, we've always been able to convert it over, it's just the opportunity for the conversion of the. Being out. So, yeah. Yeah. We don't have that anymore, but we're here in that time.
You're probably more, you pay the plan, right?
Yeah.
You want to make a motion about the information?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion that, council, administration, come back with a report, give us our options, what we're looking at, and specifically in. I'm gonna turn it along. I'm looking for three, options, so one is, if we stay as is, one would be to, take this offer and go fully invested. And actually, the third offer, I'd like to know is if we get more invested, but we put that $690,000 and put that into the main LED product.
Yeah, we've had communities do that as well, but. They pay for it. It's good and.
I just-
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes sense?
Okay, there's a motion on the floor, any further discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, Kathy.
You're good.
Good evening, Your Worship. Council. The purpose of this report is to provide traffic study completed at intersection of 740 Southeast and Southeast and Main Street and 6th Avenue Northwest. In past, complaints were received regarding the difference in queuing on 6th Avenue Southeast and 7th Street Southeast intersection due to peak hours and traffic associated with the Memorial Secondary School. Long periods have been observed in the section of 6th Ave Southeast, with 6th Street, Southeast and 7th Street. And overall, attendance rate, period lasting approximately 20 minutes during morning and east-west traffic is predominant at the intersection of 6th Ave and 7th Street Southeast. And vehicles running around 7th Street Southeast, finding appropriate gaps to complete their journey. Traffic turning left from 6th Ave Southeast to 7th Street Southeast also been very few in the eastbound direction. As the intersection of 6th Ave Southeast and 6th Street Southeast is very close to the intersection of concern, the traffic study also incorporated traffic data collection and application. And reviewed any scope of improvement, which will overall improve traffic congestion during the times. Another concern brought forward was the pedestrian safety at 4 lanes, so located at the intersection of Main Street and 6th Ave North. Mainly due to traffic associated with ETOs school and needed to get them coming on 30,000 was budget, function review, comprehensive state condition, and determine preliminary improvement options that is the amount of the item. Town administration, I recommend, traffic.
going into discussion, existing conditions that are in the record of the existing section of setup there. Road classification, so Main Street is an arterial road, 6 at southeast is the collector road, 7 streets southeast, 6 at northeast, northwest, and 6 streets southeast, they all are local roads. Speed limits are all 50 kilometers per hour except for within the vicinity of the street. Traffic volume, there were 3 12-hour traffic counts were detected at the location of the concern. These counts were completed on March 14th, 15th, and 16th this year. Vehicle classes were differentiated and pedestrian bicycles and crosswalk were also different. The existing morning and evening peak hour vehicle traffic volume to the section study summarized below in the table. The guidelines will stay online for each of the school indicated classes generally begin near 8:30 a.m. and ends sometime between 3 and 3:30 p.m. Therefore, 4:30 morning and evening peak hours align with the school peak hours at each of the 3 separate intersections. Next level of service. So this is the term which implies a qualitative measure of traffic flow at an intersection. It is dependent upon the vehicle delay and fuel length approaches. Level of service and uninterlinear intersection is often related to the delay attributed by flows on the minor speed or by all other complicated events. Large delays indicate a poor level of service. There are letters A to F, defined by highway manual. A defines the best level of service and F defines the worst. The performance of the intersections that were of concern, included in the studies, based on the existing peak hour traffic, resulted in a level of service C or better. This is generally considered to be an acceptable level of service. However, school meeting periods are often shorter than an hour, and therefore result in a more concentrated period of congestion. Additionally, the perception of local drivers will lead to more driver frustration due to the presence of queues and delays associated with school drop-off and pickup times. Potential improvements to reduce the impact of queues and congestion at locations are discussed further below. And also like now talking about more pedestrian safety review, pedestrian safety concerns are present like present at each of the intersection due to the following reasons. Lack of convenience pedestrian facility provide safe and accessible direction. It means at some location there might not be the sidewalk in the same on both the sides of the intersection. Long cross distance due to wide roads and larger curb area. There is also limited pavement markings and signage, it will be in crossing locations. And there is also inconsistency with driver expectation. So some potential improvement options. So I'll go based on each section. So 7 speed southeast and 6 at southeast. So these are only like these are the improvement options that can be considered. Number 1 is roundabout. Again, implementation of roundabout intersection introduce traffic calming effects on 6 at southeast and enhance the safety due to the reduced number of conflict points and lower travel speeds. This also is expected to improve the traffic flow associated with the school peak hours. However, this option may not be feasible due to the right of way and cost constraint. Relocation of existing crosswalk. So relocating the crosswalk to be at the section of 6 Ave southeast and 7th Street southeast. It's anticipated to improve visibility of pedestrian and better align with driver expectations. Currently, yes.
Sorry to interrupt on that one. Is that not where the intersection there is?
So basically what they're saying right now, the intersection, the crosswalk is on basically further a little away from the intersection, right? It's not right.
I see the wood poster.
Yeah, it goes on the intersection, yeah. Introduce a painted eastbound left-turn lane and implement traffic signal. So a traffic signal is not currently warranted at this intersection based on Transportation Association of Canada's traffic signal warrant metrics. However, a traffic signal would assist in improving the queuing issues associated with the school peak hours. Particularly in providing dedicated right of way for southbound vehicles to turn from 7th Street without having to review to traffic on six sides of these. Additionally, provision of traffic signal and relocation of crosswalk each of the intersections will allow for dedicated pedestrian space. This would address the safety concerns related to the existing crosswalk placement and non-standard word and flashing beacon system. Provision of an eastbound left-hand lane will also include the green on eastbound 6 southeast and 7 Street South, by allowing space for eastbound running vehicles way without interrupting flow, interrupting flow of traffic. The existing roadway will appear to be 12 meter, which provides additional width beyond what is required for eastbound and westbound 2 lanes. The eastbound left-hand lane could be installed on the existing pavement surface through pavement markings and signage to reduce the cost. Implementation of curb extensions and implementation of curb extension on the northeast corner to narrow the roadway and reduce the crossing distance to enhance the safety of pedestrian crosswalk. The curb extension would likely result in reduced speed and improve sightlines for drivers, better detect pedestrians in the crosswalk or waiting to cross. And also one of the suggestions to develop a local road safety plan. So local road safety plan includes framework for identifying, analyzing, and prioritizing roadway safety improvements. It is suggested that town develop a local roadway safety plan to assist with future prioritization and assessment of safety concerns near school and for town. Going next on 6th Street, southeast and 6th Southeast. Again, one of the suggestions that from the put out is the roundabout. Implementation of roundabout would reduce traffic and effect. And safety will reduce the number of conflict points and more power speed. This is also expected to be improve the traffic flows and being associated with the school peak hours. A roundabout beyond physical, however, installation of compact mini roundabout traffic circle could be considered. This could be achieved through installation of a raised island and modification to pavement markings and signage. Install a signal, the provision of a traffic signal would allow for dedicated pedestrian space and address some of the delays for vehicles turning on to 6 southeast from 6 Street southeast. Next, you may also implementation of curb extension. Implementation of curb extension in southeast intersection corner to narrow the roadway and reduce the cost like and safety of the pedestrian crosswalk. The curb extension would likely result in reduced speed and improve sightlines for drivers better detect pedestrians in the crosswalk or waiting to cross. Upgrades to existing crosswalk mark. A review of the existing crosswalk was completed based on the transportation system. Canada's pedestrian crossing control guide, crosswalk with sign, ground mounted sign important is what guide. The crosswalk marking be upgraded to zebra crossing, zebra markings to enhance the continuity of the crossing. Zebra markings are recommended for all areas. Removal of stop control on 6 southeast and upgrade pedestrian crosswalk. The council consider removal of the stop control eastbound and westbound which is on 6 such that eastbound westbound traffic would be free flow and only northbound traffic would be required to stop. If this were implemented, the pedestrian crosswalk on the east section of this leg should be upgraded to enhance the safety of our pedestrians. The use of rectangular rapid flashing beacons would be considered in the with continual monitoring to identify the pedestrian activity signal is required in the future. The removal of the stop control on 6 southeast would alleviate the congestion associated with school peak hours, particularly congestion with upgrades to the 7th Street southeast. I have a suggestion, we can also develop local road safety plan. It is common for all the sections. Going next to Main Street and 6 North intersection. Again, one of the improvements is to implement curb extension at each of the intersection corners, narrow the roadways, and reduce the crossing distance for the pedestrians, which would, eventually enhance safety at the intersection. The curb extension would likely result in reduced speeds and improve sightlines for drivers to better detect pedestrians. Upgrade crosswalk markings, again, the existing crosswalk markings should be upgraded to zebra markings to enhance, responsibility of the crossing and align with school area requirement. Create formal crossing on South Lake, so at the moment, at that intersection, we only have formal crossing on basically west of the intersection, north of intersection, and the east of intersection. There is no formal crossing south of intersection, so that's something we can establish. Next, review intersection lighting. It is suggested that town will use the current intersection lighting, but it's better crosswalks are adequately illuminated. If required, implement the lighting enhancement to facing the luminaire can be considered to make it easier for drivers to identify pedestrian drivers. Extend the school zone on Main Street North of 6 Northeast section. So at the moment, the school zone is terminated just south of that intersection, which may result in driver accelerating and approaching the intersection at higher speed. So he suggested that the school zone be extended north of intersection to reduce speed. Next, implement pedestrian warning signs on Main Street. Like we can implement this pedestrian /view sign on Main Street to inform drivers of the crosswalk at 6 intersection. Provide sidewalk connection south of 6 again like that. So we don't have an official crossing there. If an official crossing is established, and we can provide a sidewalk connection on all 4 corners. Install a signal. So it is noted that as per town's 2008 transportation master plan, update identifying the traffic signal as a long-term around 2027 horizon for the intersection of Main Street and 6 not traffic signal is currently not warranted based on the existing traffic volumes. However, the improvement listed above would be compatible with eventual installation of the signal. It is suggested that town continue to monitor the traffic volumes and operations of the very basic to assess any for that signal. And then I included an example of still above noted improvements as shown in the image below. And some high level cost estimates to construct single lane roundabout around $1 million plus whatever property acquisition is required at the spot. Curve extensions for curve extension will be 30,000 per intersection of 4 corners. Temporary will be around 10,000 per intersection of 4 corners. Single upgrade would be around 300,000. Crosswalk markings, just marking on the asphalt would be around 2,000 per day. Which is assuming like stop bar and zebra markings. And rapid flashing beacons are 50,000 there. The further funding allocation would be required to getting anywhere within upgrades. So administrative records accepting this report as information. However, from the discussions, we can be held in council to make budget, future budget proposals for consideration of improvements.
You have been, likely you have high level costs. The one thing that's learning about the mini roundabout option you have in what how does that impact the water?
The cost, media roundabout can be like considering the space we have there. I'm pretty sure we can include that in that we have, so we won't have to consider any property acquisition there at the location. And also we have right of way on all sides, considering boulevard space, right? I would say, yeah, I'll have to work some numbers out in order to figure out how much it will be, but because it's such a, it's a raise. Yeah, correct, yeah, that's it, right? So, considering those raise curb extension is 30,000 for 4 corners. I would say, yeah, 30,000 to 40,000 would be enough to do a curb extension in the middle.
One. You were very, Yeah, I know, I've said it now. Where you're talking about the corner extension, curb extensions there, that would help shorten the crosswalks.
Yeah.
I like that idea, but my question would be, looking at the numbers we have on our busy time, specifically on Main Street six. How would that impact the number of people that are turning right? Now, they're gonna be coming into that same lane, so typically, if we have 2 lanes, you know, for that intersection, turning straight.
But
People do it that way, I understand it's not supposed to be that way, but that's what happens.
But it, I mean, like, if you look at, the image there, you know how you have that third extension in the corner, right? There is no lane going like, you know, how we have 6 at like. That's what we need, like, on at 7 there, like, how we have the 40.
No, that's in the line lane, I'm talking about that 4-way intersection, you look at someone going straight, someone going right, so it's turn right.
I think the short answer is it's gonna slow traffic, right? And these are traffic calming initiatives, right? And we need to slow it, purposely meant to slow down traffic.
Slow this down to the.
So the trade-off will be, yeah, you're slowing it down for pedestrian safety, but you're going to increase congestion.
That's,
You're gonna increase congestion, you're gonna increase how long it takes for those vehicles, because you're exactly right. Instead of one vehicle heading northbound and the second one kind of pulled to the right to make the right hand turn and head eastbound, you're not gonna have that option anymore. So it's gonna be queues of one vehicle with the curves coming out, and it will slow, which is the intention of it, is to slow the traffic at that intersection through that mechanism. Right? You'll have better traffic throughput with a traffic signal sort of solution at that location where you're dedicated traffic going and stopping for pedestrian traffic. That solution is
Now,
the one.
we get bus issues, we have that out there as well.
I'll let him chime in this little bit.
Over there, get one down back alley, all the other ways. That's not. Make it work. So that's block, would be better. Yeah, the issue is then about, pedestrian indicate that. Yeah, I know, but they're talking 4 and 5 year olds across. You're gonna change, you're gonna. Fix one, column, but it's all that wall. That's already getting people of their teaching, they're playing, everyone raising there. So. Or I guess, yeah, I'm down.
And a lot, I wouldn't let it, right, figures are there, and, the back half, it goes down by, quite flat. With the rest, that is, you have a ton of people that turning down there and then coming out. So you'll see constant, and I know trying to leave the condos that are right there currently. So that right turn is taken away. There's a balance to be at least talked about during budget, but there's a, you wouldn't be able to turn out of there.
So if it's I can see involvement.
But you'll down out the rest of it, which also doesn't help pedestrian safety, because everyone's parked on the wrong side of the road, so that kids that will that be crossing with the speed back with traffic. Yeah. Sorry for that, sir.
So I was gonna say, kind of, I don't know the curve thing, but I really like the idea of the wrap flashing lights, the zebra stripe, I think it's drawing more attention to it. Just for me personally, my number one concern is more of the intersection by CJ Turner there with that 6 lanes, because that's where we had to work. Resident complains that there are more young children walking across there. So I like a lot of the suggestions you brought, I don't know, what it's really gonna be. The most impactful and the right decision for us, and I look forward to debating that with all of you at special time. Thank you. Yes, I will accept this report as information.
Any further discussion? All good, in favor? That is carried, I'm just gonna call a short 5-minute break, please.
Okay, we next, the purpose of this report is to regular credit council for adopting user rates for proposed EV charger at MRC. Since last year, I've been administration consultant at Coke Electric a couple of times to understand the strategies and factors considered for setting user rates for the fast charger. As for the information shared by Coke Electric, there are variety of cycling models for the fast charger networks. For unit time, this is the most simple and common pricing model in Alberta. The end user is charged for their connection time. Next is per unit time with demand hiring. So this is the most second most common pricing model in Alberta. The end user is charged for their connection time in power levels. The higher the power levels, the higher the per unit rate. As an example, Tesla charges the lowest lowest price per day when charging below 60 kilowatt, and highest price per day when charging above 80 kilowatt. The next model is flat fee. So flat fee is charged irrelevant of power level or connection time. Sometimes this pricing model is combined with other pricing model. For example, an end user is charged flat fee plus per unit time. Then there is a subscription base. The end user is charged during subscription fee to access discounted previously mentioned price. And then the last one is recently announced is per unit energy lower hours. This pricing model is not yet allowed. So actually it's allowed now due to changes in provincial and better restrictions. Previously it was not allowed, but it will speak now it's allowed. So Echo shared some great examples from the existing vehicle fast charger providers in the Alberta market. So people vary the usage per unit time pricing model and charges $20 per hour. Tesla uses per unit time with demand time pricing model and charging to make 14 cents and $1.15 per day within 4 demand tires. Results vary, but end users can be between $20 and $40 for a fast charging session. Electrify Canada uses subscription with per unit time with demand pricing model. Results vary, but end users can be between $30. It should be $20 and $30 for fast charging session. Electrify Canada uses the per unit pricing model and charges $20 an hour. Recently, a couple of municipalities adopted the per unit energy model and charges 45 cents per 4 hour. It is difficult to predict the cost to each end user at a fast charging facility. So as for Echo's estimate, the cost to the end user for using fast charging facility currently ranges from 20 cents to 55 cents per kilowatt hour. The pricing model shown are explainable. This is an approximation. It has an wide variance. A lot of municipalities install or commercial install fast charging infrastructure uses per unit time. EV battery sizes typically range from 50 kilowatt, which is like sedan or smaller cars, to 120 kilowatt hour, which is more like bigger truck. The time to recharge the customer is highly variable because it depends on the maximum output of the charger, the starting state of the charge, and how the immediate state of the charge the driver wants to leave it. Generally, people like to leave it 80%. The external temperature is a factor, and also the size of the electric vehicle is also. So recently town signed up for even days from Echo Electric to operate the EV charger. The user rates are specifically introduced by Echo to reduce early operating costs of the fast charger, and the usage is expected to be low. Town administration estimates the usage of the charger to be on an average between low and medium users. Low would be around 14 kilowatt hours per month, which is like 2-3 charges per month, or medium users would be around 15 and 300 kilowatt hours per month, which is around 10 to 25 charges per month. It is expected that overall operating costs of the charger based on average monthly usage of 300 kilowatt hour be approximately $2,500 per year, which includes energy charge paid back as per yearly days, annual fees and yearly maintenance. Now, the administration has made some assumptions to work out strategies for the user rates. Now, based on vehicle based on the vehicle manufacturers, to maintain optimum health, of the EV battery. The state of the charge should be maintained between 20% and 80%. For every driving in the city. So it is assumed that the users visiting the charging station will be charged from a state of 20% to 80%. It is also assumed that the 50-kilowatt charger will take 35 minutes to charge the vehicle from 20% to 80% based on average electric battery size of 60 kilowatt. It is assumed that the full EV charger will consume under assumption is assumed that EV charger will consume 4 hours of 10 kilowatt. So for the say charger, we can adopt either per unit time model or per unit kilowatt hour. So per unit time model, how many charge user and $20 an hour, which is average around Alberta. This model is non-always the best, and there are several factors that would determine how much energy will be consumed by the vehicle during charging. However, town will be required to pay ATCO based on per kilowatt hour usage. Based on this model, the town will be subsidizing the usage of the charger to the user between 42% and 42 and 75%. You see in line with other places in Alberta, which is highly variable based on the size of the battery. So if a car has a battery of a bigger battery size, then you are facing down less that higher for power in short period of time. And then next one is per unit energy, which town can charge users 45 cents per kilowatt hour, which is an average based on recently installed charging bond cord and Smoky Lake. This model is new to US and is expected to be widely used as there is stipulations of increasing rates from energy retailer in the near future. The model incorporates variability in charging efficiency in base factor like battery size, temperature, etc., allowing to charge users based on energy. Based on this model, now with the subsidizing the usage of the charger, the user that 3 to 55%, same line with other places in Alberta. Subsidy would allow our charging locations to stay in line with other rates around Alberta. Also, there are also medications that any out of town vehicle stopping for charge can utilize local businesses for food or shopping, resulting in lower economic development to some degree. The installed charger is expected to attract a lot of usage due to lack of fast charging network out of that. And then again, this is our third experience with the EV charger. So we will continue to monitor how the average user rates are all over the place when infrastructure are established. For now, it is recommended to set the user rates at 45 cents per kilowatt hour. And also note that ATCO, like the E23 rates that are given by ATCO, reduce operating costs, are only kind of like feasible or are only say the right word, but are only cost effective if the usage is low. So if our usage of the car share is significantly high, then going back to the rates would be much more appealing rather than rates. So at that time, if we are at that spot, a future report will be brought back to council to discuss what our options are and then any user rates need to be increased or not at that point. But for now, we can set at 45 cents per hours, and then any that user rate will be included in the rates file. It will be included in its file presentation. The installed charger will be shared on a global network website like Flow and PlugShare, allowing users to get information related to the charger, like the size of the charger, theory paths to be shared by the user, of the experience and verify the user rate, etc. Administration recommends to adopt the per unit energy model for the EV charger at MRC. However, council has options to adopt either of the present rate model for the charger at MRC.
I'm just gonna add a couple things for consideration. So,
That was quick.
so you have two, you basically, what the administration is looking here for is some direction in terms of what the vision is for this charter. If we're seeing it as an opportunity to attract and bring in more individuals, especially individuals that are operating obviously electric vehicle chargers, then the strategy of subsidizing it more will make that more attractive for that sort of purpose. Then you're looking more at that maybe $20 range or whatever the case may be, sort of per hour sort of general cost. If we're looking at it from a perspective of trying to be closer to cost recovery, even at 45 cents an hour, we're still subsidizing it a little bit. But when you look at the overall projection, even at a 300 kilowatt hour sort of estimation, which is kind of a median usage estimation, you're looking at roughly $5 grand a year in operating costs. So it's not like we're talking a huge amount of money on either way. It's just more of a what's kind of strategy does council want to take to leverage this this investment or infrastructure, and what do you see it as, what sort of purpose? I mean, we'll be able to utilize it once we acquire, the town starts to, where plans are to acquire a first fleet vehicle to test drive, to test out and see how that works. So we'll be able to utilize it from a fleet perspective whenever we want on a quick sort of basis, but I mean, those are kind of sub benefits to the town, but I mean, that's what essentially we're looking for here is what's council's vision for this infrastructure addition and which way do you want us to go in terms of promoting it or using it. One other thing I'll say, use the story is in discussions with, so there, you're gonna ask, is there other chargers in town? This is a level 3 charger, meaning this is a fast charger. Some of the car dealerships like Ford, for example, has a level 2 charger. Level 1 being your like plug it into your wall at home sort of. So there's plug it into your wall, level 1, level 2 basically doubles that output. Could be at your home, happens to be at Ford as well. Level 3 is like right away, right? It's quick. So Ford is even saying that without even a lot of advertising, their charger is being used on a regular basis. So they're finding, if you ever drive by there at night, you'll see random people of the public parking their EVs, parking their Teslas, whatever the case may be, and utilizing that service. Now, it's a very slow service, meaning they have to plug in and basically come back 9 to 10 hours later to get their vehicle after it's charged overnight sort of idea. But what it's doing is it's showing that there's an interest and there's a need for it, and it's being used in the community. This will be the fastest option available to anyone. So just kind of gauge as to what that interest potentially could be. That's it.
Yes. I agree. I was wondering how much competition there is for our area. What goes from the north to Edmonton on any of the paths where they're on.
So what other options are, let's say when you are north of Edmonton, there is no level 3, level 3 would be first would be City Gate, right? And then further you go north, I think you have high level, I believe, at what already have those sets that have level 3. You go west towards Highbury, Highbury has level 2 as well, they don't have level 3. I'm sure you can find one receiver, which will be level 3, receiver. I believe not the eastward would be the very
There for sure is 2 in Mackenzie County.
2 3s.
The 2 3s.
Yeah.
The former director there was very visionary, I believe. So had implemented something like that before his departure. So
Obviously, contract, state like, properly, south side of the way, like, so whatever is supposed to cost control. When I go for it, you're in, there's not too many trees, you're gonna use some necessity anyway, so I'm not willing to really give it away to attract people here. So that's my 2 cents on it, but whatever's supposed to cost control, and then when we do make a motion, I was wondering if we'd maybe the motion we want, but would it be favorable to say bring a report back in 6 months so we can get that data? So it doesn't get lost track of it, and we missed a year and a half or something.
yeah, I mean, and that's,
6 months good, or that's what that's great, not enough data.
I mean, I would suggest a year probably gives you a full picture. I mean, EV usage and range starts to decrease during the winter. Tourism may or may not be as high in the winter as it would be in summer. So I would suggest, just because this won't be operation, well, this will be operational, let's say, early July, so we're kind of already. I would say a year would give you a better picture in terms of what the usage has been, and
So you don't know what.
you never know, it could be high.
Feels like it's time for me to weigh in on that one. I was actually leaning towards the opposite. I don't know why, but I kind of like the $20 an hour rate. I just think it's like, it's finite, it's a little catchier, you know what you're getting into for, you know, how much you're gonna have to pay and how long your vehicle charges. From a tourism debt perspective, I was kind of thinking that makes more sense. I'm curious, would love to put Jason on the spot and have him weigh in if he has a thought one way or another as well.
I would probably lean towards the per kilowatt hour rate, actually. I wouldn't charge a flat rate just because some vehicles are going to take longer to charge than others. As another note, we did approach Tesla to see if they had plans of building a supercharger. We did want to bring a supercharger to town. And they told us directly there, Slave Lake isn't on the map right now for Tesla superchargers, so.
And that was in Cornerstone, right? It was mentioned in a previous meeting.
I don't know. We were looking at, I think we were looking at the shopping center, the shopping mall, and we could have been looking at Cornerstone as well. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, the long story short is Tesla said no. And not anywhere in the foreseeable future.
Okay, I mean, it's not, you know, a limit to die on by any means. I'm just thinking, I like the rounded number. Again, it's hopefully going to bring people to town as we grow tourism and encourage the country. It's a great asset to have that does bring in people with electric vehicles here. So, you know, with the cost being around $5,000, I don't think it's a big deal breaker. But just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I agree with Tim. I'm loving that we are thinking about the economic development aspect of it and having it kind of in the downtown core as well. I think yeah, I definitely like that option. I think Kim are on the it doesn't have to be kind of break even. I think as long as we're thinking about the economic development, attracting people to town and hopefully getting them to spend a little bit of money and talk about Slave Lake, I think that's kind of where we should be thinking about.
Where I'm at right now, is I have a hard time subsidizing. But in this case, I feel that we've got grant money that we're already better than we. By taking this off for a year to see what it happens, subsidize it for that year, I'm okay with that. We know it's free this next year. I like the per unit charge better, and that's a more clear way of doing it, because if you have if you're close to your top up and you're just there for a little while, you can let energy, then if you're right there empty. So the kilowatt hour piece I like better. One thing I would really like us to do, I guess, going forward as well, is now try to check out this one side of the beginning. Almost as a tourism piece or drawing that, and I know that's another piece of strategy, but.
So a lot of that comes just naturally through registering the charger itself on the various sort of charger networks or registries, right? Because a lot of times what's happening is vehicles are actually charting out your path and charting out your stops already based on some of those, depending on which manufacturer you have, but based on some of those registries already. So that's really the way that it kind of gets that messaging out. But I mean, obviously we're going to promote it as well. I mean, and there also is a benefit potentially locally. You're starting to see more local residents actually purchasing electric vehicles as well, who would be able to utilize it if they needed a quick charge or a quick response to run to the city or something along those lines that was unplanned, that maybe they didn't charge overnight for it. So.
When is this going to be operational?
It should be this was the last candidate we were today. We are trying to put everything together tomorrow. And then hopefully we are safety towards schedule the inspection soon. We are hoping before July or that's all.
I would love to make a motion. I move that council adopts the per unit time rate model for the EV fast charger proposed to be installed at MRC and set the $20 an hour rate for the users.
Okay, any further discussion?
We, have a second motion or two after?
Oh, and that we would like administration to bring back a report.
That would be a separate motion.
Okay, I'll stand by my first one.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? And that's great.
Yeah, I made a motion that administration, getting back to report, it's, that could be in July, could be about a year's time, anyway.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? And that is great. Thank you.
Have before you, the administrative by law, or the charter review process, will be needed by law. That rate is now ready to be included in the bylaw. And while reviewing the bylaw, we did make a couple of additional changes. For not accepting the claim fees, which you reduce one to $650. When we're going to set up, I think they're like a very process, it's getting in line with what the legal rate for the school start. We included the local authority election at rate filing fees. I did not fee the rate filing, that's for the local authority election program. Also included was a $100 application processing fee for the rural renewal program. So the credit card processing fee for 1.4% of the total transaction credit card usage. These charges only applicable for transactions outside of base simply as AccuNet. AccuNet is a provider for the MRC and pool, and AccuNet charges home transaction fee. We set a cap of $1,500 per transaction. For the use of credit card fees and paying taxes in any form of non-eligible. Administration will review these practices for a period of about 6 months to a year. How many costs to run the credit card program and the rates period. Under the last one, we'll have to amend. So we did have the electrical vehicle charging station in the bylaw, it does say 45 kilowatt. We can amend that to be $20. So we are at all the machine kind of up and running and waiting for the nearest switch on the bed. So I'll ready to test them out and then test some errors, and then go back to there. So fix some things on there, so we're ready to go as soon as they put the switch on our end. And we'll advertise using MasterCard about using that in our office. We also have a machine going on the bottom town. So the public site that and it's our recommendation that you adopt the rate file.
And just to refresh my memory of the people watching, why did we decide on not allowing the $1,500 per second?
There's no other municipality that does it right now. I just want to see how the program runs, how expensive, and see how expensive it is, normal transactions. Get a volume load kind of thing on how popular it is, and then we have a better estimate if we want to put it over for packing. Probably 10,000, 5,000,
So is, what I'm gathering from what you're saying is let's potentially expand the staff of what we want to get for our strong request for credit cards. It's very belligerent about, I just want to make sure that, but
yeah, and just get a cost of, or get a good idea of what it was sitting, cost of data, and we can kind of adjust.
have a better picture.
You like the word data, that's good.
And the thing on the 1.4%, 100% cost recovery, popcorn,
Well, I don't want to make any promise, that's why, again, it's like that ballpark, given what I'm being defined. So if people will have to, can go up much higher than that, you may have to adjust it downwards, depending on what the actual process.
I move that council gets first reading of administrative rate bylaw 15-20.
As amended.
Sorry about that.
All right. There was a motion from Lawrence, very good discussion. All those in favor, that is carried. For the discussion, all those in favor, that is carried. Council, please.
I move that council gives unanimous consent for third reading of bylaw number 15-2023 as amended.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, that is carried. Councilor Long.
Move that council gives third reading to administrative rates bylaw 15-2023.
For the discussion, all those in favor, and that is carried. Thanks, Ron. Oh, Jeffrey.
One friendly suggestion, maybe similar to your EV charger, you may want to put a motion forward to bring back a review. So whether that's a 6-month review, or you want to roll the dice and let it roll for a year.
What do you recommend?
Well, I think.
Councilor,
I will make that move.
all those in favor? That is carried. Lori. Good evening.
Your worship and members of the council, the purpose of the report of the council to get bylaw 14-2023 first reading is set date for the part of the hearing. The applicant is Beauty Queen Hair Salon, and the amendment is to add personal services as a permitted use to the C2 secondary commercial district. And as this is an application coming forward from the public, there's no discussion on the motion. I'm here recommending the council to the bylaw first reading. The schedule is part of the hearing of the bylaw.
Councilor Long.
Make a motion that bylaw 14-2023 to amend section 88. 2 of the land use bylaw number 22-2007 by adding personal services as a permitted use to the C2 secondary commercial district, the first reading, and the required public hearing be scheduled for July 11, 2023.
Captain, all those in favor? And that is carried.
Okay, thank you. The next report is with respect to short-term rentals and regulation involved. So the purpose is to have council review the proposal for short-term rentals with respect to the process of developing regulations for SPRs and to award a contract. So brief background, the planning department has received an application for an SPR. However, they're not including the listed in the land use bylaw and such, the applicant then apply within the land use bylaw to add a use. Upon investigating this issue a little further, it became clear that the subject of SPRs was much more complicated and diverse than we had anticipated. It is has become clear that there are a large list of stakeholders that will be impacted, including citizens, local tourism accommodation providers, so that's SPRs, long-term rentals, council, citizens, and so on. So it's clear that due to that complexity of issues, that it would be a good idea to investigate and consider further regulations that might be utilized with respect to SPRs. So following the previous report meeting council in April of 2023, the planning department determined that the best route to take when considering responding to the utilized contracted service to help manage required work. The department currently has one full-time staff member currently training and one part-time staff member In order to not disrupt the current service levels and management of the Port Road, it was decided that utilizing a third-party contractor to help develop the regulatory framework needed for this project would be the best course of action to take. The planning department reached out to Third Space Planning, which was the developer of the toolkit that was presented in the council report on April 11th. And we requested a proposal with an outline of the process for the short-term rental project. The proposal is attached to this report. Just going through the proposal focuses on community and council engagement and on the design of the regulatory framework. The planning department will take the lead on drafting the bylaw amendments and bringing those forward after the engagement and development of the regulatory framework has been completed. The proposal specifically focus on education and engagement of the residents, stakeholders, and councilors about the issues and associated options and trade-offs. The establishment of clear goals to guide the regulatory design and design the regulatory framework capable of achieving chosen goals and from which a specific bylaw amendment will be drafted. This would be done in a three-phase approach. Third Space Planning has provided a breakdown of each phase within the proposal. And more phase would need to be added, in which the planning department would take that regulatory framework, create regulations for amendment to the bylaws required. So phase one would be the background research analysis part of the program or the project. It would be will complete with the presentation and background report that summarizes the current landscape and the pros and cons associated with the possible role of SPRs to council. Current policy review would take place. It would be a review of the current policy and bylaws that the town has in place, and would include anything related to better practice of council foundation provider. Would include the compilation of data, which includes researching the current available SPRs in the community and possibly in the region. Including compiling the traditional combination services in the community and high-level information gathered to describe the current state of housing availability and affordability. And then there will be stakeholder interviews, which would be held with key players in the various above sectors or stakeholders. Phase two would be goal setting, which consists of Third Space Planning and the planning department collaborating to design and distribute the community survey, compile which results of the council for a decision on program goals. The high level context that described in the background report in phase one, survey the community opinions and what types of goals they want council prioritize with respect to SPR. There would be compilation of them, those results and a presentation prepared to something council with respect to goals and phase three would be the regulatory design, and it consists of using multiple tools and approaches to lay out regulatory pathways for exploration. Coordination with Third Space Planning and the planning department would take place to bring the adoption to the community via several forms of mediation. There will be a written option report, which the development of one or more regulatory paths considered on the previous exercise. Second community survey for community engagement on the proposed regulatory path will be considered. Open house. And Third Space Planning will coordinate and assist the planning department in hosting that open house to answer questions and gather feedback and then compile with engagement results, which would give you the results coming out of this open house and provide a final report of education. The fourth stage would be preparing the draft regulations in the form of bylaw and bringing them forward for first reading, public hearing, second reading. So the guidelines would be phase one from July 2023 to September 23, roughly. These are fairly soft. Phase two will take place from September to October. Phase three from November to February. And phase four, that's not correctly, we're thinking 4 to 6 weeks. So February to March 2024. So there's a couple of options. Option one is status quo. We do not act for preferences to land use bylaw and do not regulate them at all, but with the exception of bed and breakfast. Option two is draft regulations was stayed without a stakeholder community input. This top of what we think is appropriate. Or on keep reading with people who award the contract with food states fine for the regulating short term rentals, which include public engagement programs on the probably rate in the amount of 32,750 to be funded from the final development funding. But sorry, that's funded from the administration reserve budget. Yeah, that was it. Any questions?
Okay. Counselor Adams.
I will go further. What is the impact currently, or what could it look like if we did one? We've had these in our community for a while, just wondering. What's the point, and how is it, what is the machine?
Okay, well, first of all, there is a couple of, I think, 2 approved bed and breakfasts, like the rest of them, the rest of short-term rentals, so they're not offering the benefit of the regulation. What kind of impact is happening, we don't really know, and it may not be that big of an impact, but we don't know where that's gonna go to. And if we don't regulate them now, it's kind of hard to bring the regulations in a little bit later, it's kind of a better chance to take a peek in that box, see, what are the potential issues around short-term rentals, and what could we do with how we of a dive do we want to do on the regulations, and sort of get a handle on what kind of impacts are having now, so that we can determine whether those impacts are going to time or not.
And that would control like our Airbnb and our VRBO and any ones outside of those.
Yeah.
Also those outside of those providers, but that's kind of what we're looking at guiding.
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't know, like I said, there's 2 bed and breakfasts that are legally operating right now. And I've probably seen a big getting information from all the shop owners, stuff as these things pop up. And I know of probably about 6 others already, that would be Airbnb, remote type short-term rental that are already up and operating, and there's been some stress interest from a few land developers about flipping some of their long-term concrete properties for the future.
So when we're talking about restrictions, are we talking about maybe like a maximum amount of short-term rentals within our region, so that it?
I mean, there's a number of ways you can go at it, and depending obviously on the public feedback and council's desire, and if they want to go through the process, but I've seen them take a real deep dive and set up some pretty intricate bylaws and get right into taxing them and licensing them, and that they require a lot of resources. And whereas I've seen them take a very short look at it, where they basically have one way I've seen them do it is they just say that the short-term rental have to be owner occupied, which reduces the number of potential areas, means that if people have one as an operator instead of potentially 10 or 50 properties that you can be setting up as a short-term rental. So there's all kinds of potential depending on what your goal is, what you're wanting to accomplish by regulating that.
And so when we read that document, we came to consensus the last time, it was both 16 and some smaller 16 there. That document also did this work, I felt like quite a bit larger.
Yeah, in one sense, it's a big deep dive, yeah.
It's a big deep dive, and not necessarily Alberta based, a lot of it was on a piece in Ontario, so this report that would be coming to us, that would be tailored to our community. Are regulated.
Yes, we've all, especially with consultants already, is that, we're 1.5 person, superintendent department. And we don't have the resources, and I don't know that council has the interest in creating like, additional staff members to, facilitate, a very complicated bylaw, so we're asking for, something that's tailored for our community this size, yeah.
And have they worked with communities are present?
Yes, like, yeah.
That's good.
So you mentioned in the phase 1 here that you're gonna have basically a housing market study. So this will be like a high level gathering of information to describe the current state of housing availability and affordability in town. That's just gonna be like overall.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And quite high level, but it just gives you, need to sort of get that baseline and where we're at.
Okay. I can't believe I'm saying this, but usually I like things to move quickly, but in this instance, I like the approach here and I like the timeline for making sure that this is done right. With the report you presented to us, back in April, there was a lot of different red flags that kind of became clear if we do rush this through, like the owner occupancy, et cetera. Given the current state of housing and the needs we have in the community, I think that this is the best approach for us to take right now. Take our time, do it right, don't mess it up. Makes sense?
We've got council to work this, contract, with space planning, regulating short-term rentals, public engagement. And program design, council of like, now $33,350, planning and development.
That's what I know. Yeah. What happens to existing bed and breakfasts or short-term rentals that are in place now?
Okay, so any of the short-term rentals that are not bed and breakfast. Have not been under the issues permit, so what we have, once we landed on where we wanted to go and what our regulations were gonna look like. We'll be reaching out to those people that are operating, getting them a predetermined set of time to bring their business into compliance with whatever the regulations are at the time.
So meaning there's no grandfather approach here.
Yeah.
There are no rules to govern it to begin. Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? All questions in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. Our final director to evening.
Also, the public will be required to provide education. Council or provide. The town council, we shouldn't have any financial need not to depend on. This application plan information results in a lot of data documentation and even effective management. Further, some applications are prepared to kind of vendors. Over the years. This is so far that there is and potential impact on public service. To overcome this issues, improve productivity and enhance service quality, down the crucial decisions. We have little for discussion, some administration presented from today, we are in process, and then we have some solution, one from council software, and the other from technologies. I was very experienced in the power sector. Both companies offer different technologies and functionalities, and there is a significant pricing difference between these two. Downstream's implementation cost is at $802,000, while Catalyst is on-prem, it's gonna cost $100,000. But I need to explain more about pricing difference, because if you look at the data, for example, the pricing difference in Catalyst and Downstream are the system, and the architected integrations in mode software. Downstream provides a comprehensive suite of modules, including finance, HR, management, recreation, fixed asset, local orders, customer service, permit and application. On the other hand, Tata offers modules in finance, fixed asset, customer service, permit, media management, program management, omitting HR, and that. So Tata is HR, wow, translate that, application. Tata is the non-friendly solution for council to operate inside the cloud. The current model is significant role in private sector. Council cloud is to eliminate the need for substantial infrastructure investments as related with on-premises systems. The on-premises like Catalyst A maximum of the cost of the server, not read. Data center networking equipment, then you can employ specialists in market. If you want an on-premise, and that's very expensive. In contrast, cloud will have a solution leverage provided by the cloud provider, reducing upfront costs and maintenance for cloud solution. With us moving the cost to the vendor, the don't manage the data, infrastructure, network security. So we're not paying for that. So we're actually paying them to use money. Additionally, the cloud-based nature of tasks will offer advantage in terms of scalability, accessibility, and security. Cloud ERP solutions can do business with scaled operations at the group, avoiding additional hardware or infrastructure expansion. The evolution of the proposal follows storing criteria applying the ERP documents after our evaluation. Council infrastructure the CDI score and is therefore recommended as contract of the outside the evaluation matrix and the red score based on different answers. Options before council plans. Council has recommended consider for the choices. One, pursue the contract work by the assistant completion or this. What's the result in time? Out of about 360, I'll get that from the in 2023. Initially, the decision on the scale. Some people try to use the charter before the something projects and highlights the various conditions between the vendors and the various stakeholders. Recommendation to council based on the evaluation of the service council. Our the contract for the implementation of the township of
So I think right now we're not really comparing apples to apples. They're two different products, with two different levels of service. Have we looked at what, if we were comparing apples to apples, what it would cost us to go with not the town suite system, the other one, and then purchasing servers, maybe bringing in more support to just so we can compare apples to apples.
Well,
Go ahead.
if we were to, I look at on-premise. Yeah, so for the on-premise, then we're looking at cost of infrastructure. Then you're gonna buy cloud solutions for network, cloud solutions for infrastructure, and then those are very expensive. Looking at mid-100 for each of the special. Sorry, mid-100 for compensation for inspection. Network security, that's what it's a cost. So by the time you do the calculation and then the application itself, probably going to about 600.
The other issue with the Catalyst in this case is that
They don't have.
they're not offering all of the requirements that we put on the RFP, so they're not offering all the modules. The intended goal is to bring everything kind of connected in house, right? So even if we were to do an on-prem sort of comparison, or it still wouldn't be an accurate comparison because they're not offering the same level of they're not meeting all of our requirements.
We have the same issue.
We have the same issue, and their workaround is to try and make bridges to some of these third-party initiative or third-party software providers and pull that information in, but it becomes now a point of weakness for a system when you're building these bridges or these ad hoc connections to third-party providers trying to make it all work, as opposed to utilizing a system that's got it all built from the ground. So unfortunately, I mean, they've got some strong suits for them for sure, but it doesn't meet the requirements of what we were intending to design or intending to bring.
One of my concerns here was the significant price better, but like you said, being target costs and whatnot, and then trying to push us He didn't really file. But, the other concern I have, if we do the title system, is the ongoing operating costs of this thing. I'm imagining, or as far as I understand, the cost of running town is significantly less to, IT guys for 300 grand a year plus benefits,
Oh, yes.
plus landing them, plus.
Plus.
Right. Thank you.
I was also gonna say, I learned that it's like the same cost year after year, that it increases dramatically, and something like this. I would use that, I mean, like, the other people, on something like this, probably a 2 to 3 year transition period in its entirety. I would want to, so, secure costing one, especially not banking on trying to find the professional training.
I think I would agree with your thoughts on that as well, that's kind of the way I think. I'm curious, Counselor Adams, you mentioned Town Suite several times when you talked about like cloud-based products. Did you like it? I can't remember if that was a positive, like if you kind of giving it a positive review.
Well, from what I think, what do I know about town? I'm just gonna put it
But I
there.
thought you-
But with town, what I like about it, it does integrate all the pieces that we need in one platform. And it's in the cloud. All the other things need, like you say, they have the API or the bridge, like the outside programs, which are having a subscription to those outside programs on this. So
Yeah.
the problem we're seeing right now is we have multiple programs already in one silos. So to bring this into one suite, I am definitely more in favor, even though it's more upfront cost. The ongoing cost, so we can look at having significant savings over the cheap option now. So I'm definitely in favor of the town.
Okay, yeah, I thought you were fairly familiar with it and used it. Okay.
Yeah, I reached out to we made some references and I reached out to town that have about 25,000 residents. Because the idea is if they have to get it right, you know, the life in the field, the problem is to get the same subject that we get. And the lady, the director of finance, we get a very positive review of council experience. It's all moving away from staying vendor out together. We can same vendor that was from where I'm coming from. We established quality over the years. This guy was not over the years. We keep acquiring more companies and getting the so I actually asked, and I called the sales guy for Western Canada for Town Suites. We started talking and he mentioned one of the people that was managing for us on the block. We were talking about this same company that vendor here. You know, saying he actually decided to take on this job. He almost decided to take on the job. The moral of that we are aligned to this company. And where they're going very gradual, they're taking very, it's a private company. This other company approached them to acquire the training. We don't want, we just want to do that in organically. So I think they have very good philosophy of all of them.
I would move the council work here, the system implementation to the council.
All on the floor, any further discussion? All the president in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. So revisions driving for delegation, we already made the motion after the actual delegation, we can continue on from that. So we're moving to question period. Any questions, Counselor Adams?
I just wanted to get any update or anything on the Canada Day flag piece we were talking about.
I do. So our operations were successful in locating utensils. And they were successful in also acquiring and requisitioning some red paint. So they are intending to complete that work, weather permitting, before Canada Day. So stay tuned.
Where,
At a very nominal cost.
where are they finding?
I believe they're planning on replicating the same application that they had previously. Whatever that may be, so it wasn't.
Oh, look, you smile.
Yes.
Anything further discussion period? Counselor Adam, no.
Mine, this is because, June 23rd, coming up here. One of my questions around the Dream reconciliation piece, that we've been trying to move towards the flags we have, the work we did in trying to get the land acknowledgement just right and whatnot. Where are we at on that as far as the Dream reconciliation commission's 94 call back, where what's kind of our next steps that we're moving towards here?
Unfortunately, you know what, I haven't actually looked at our progress or seen what any outstanding
And that's-
action items there have, so I will have to bring that back. Yeah, I don't have an answer for you today as to what's officially been completed over the course since the recommendations came up, or what's left outstanding for us to address. I mean,
Did you want to motion for the timeline?
but yeah, I could bring you back a status update. I guess it's what you're looking for, an update as to what we've done and what is outstanding on that list that we envisioned.
I'm not sure how much we can build out, but like keep this moving forward. That's the one in there for a while.
Well, I can give you a status update in terms of other plans, more specific, more than that, and we have to make another motion with that. So
Okay.
you want to make a motion to bring it back for let's say committee of the whole in July. So the second meeting in July.
Okay.
If that works.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor, any further discussion? All questions in favor, and that is carried. Anything further, question period?
Sure.
Keep on rolling, keep on going.
This one here is kind of weird. I know we've missed a few things throughout the year, but I would like to know, we did just review the flag and lighting policy that we had. And then I'd like us to actually take another look at that, because there's stuff in there that I thought we had to fix days throughout the year or fix events throughout the year that we would have just carried on. So I'd like to review that again, specifically looking into month of June and raising the LGBT flag and having that be part of it. I was just wondering what other events we have in that policy, what did we do for criteria to put those events on that?
So would you like me to reference what's in the policy, or what would you like?
Sure, you're ready to go. No.
All right, so we've got it up in front of us here. So, and as you may or may not know yet, we actually made a post in regards to kind of some of the procedures as it relates to the flagging policy, and that's been posted to our social media this evening as well. So to inform the general public and different organizations or groups on what that procedure is, should they request or be looking for special recognition of council to adopt days, weeks, whatever the case may be. So we have some annual days that are listed on annual occasions. So commence the following occasions, flags will be flown at half mast. So there's a day of mourning for persons killed or injured in the workplace in April. The second Sunday in September for Firefighters National Memorial Day. The second Sunday in September for Police and Peace Officers National Memorial Day. September 30th, we flagged for National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. So there's one of the initiatives that we were doing. And obviously for Remembrance Day. So those are days, specific days that were indicated for flags at half mast. Also, there's provisions for, death of one of, I would say, one of the, heads of state or significant heads of state. So members of the immediate royal family, the Governor General, Prime Minister, Lieutenant Governor, Premier of Alberta, current mayors and councillors. So there's provisions for that. There's provisions for, these are provisions for half masting for funerals and memorial services for federal cabinet ministers from Alberta, provincial cabinet ministers, current Treaty 8 chief, former mayors or councillors. In terms of commemorative lighting, to commemorate lights will be reflected in, so we identified certain days for certain colors. So the last Wednesday in February for end bowling pink shirt day, April 7th for Green Shirt Day for organ donor awareness and registration, and May 5th for national awareness of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. July 1st for Canada Day, September 30th for National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, Remembrance Day, and there's one for the days of the event for Light Up Slave Lake, so the Christmas sort of provisions. So those are the days as it relates to that are specific for lights. And I don't believe we actually have anything that is specific for flags to commemorate special dates or special, occasions as it relates to organizations of flags.
Not one person.
For flags,
Right, so.
not for a flag, not a designated flag, no.
Okay.
There is the half masting of
I
flags.
would like, what I would like to get out of that is us, you as administration, what we should be doing, it's for our community and part of what we like, and what that are repetitive throughout the year.
So and that's, we can definitely take that direction and bring back a recommendation. The difficulty that administration will have is identifying which causes or which organizations are worthwhile and promoting or not. And what do you do in terms of conflict? So what do you do in terms of conflict when you have one organization who may be celebrating or maybe recognizing a month or a period of time, and you have another organization that's could be just as worthy during that period of time, right? Which is why the general policy, and as it sits right now, which is not that old, is you put the request in the hands of the organizations themselves. And you allow them to make that proposition or make that request to council, and council decides it on a one-off basis. It would be difficult for administration to give you with fear of offending one group at the expense of another, a list of organizations and really.
It is about can you buy I just feel that it's kind of points to bring up the same thing every year that we bring up every year. So the ones that we want that are matter for a community to have, I think we should have in there every day. And have it as a permanent piece, and then it council in the future, I guess, figures that is fully wrong. But, and then if we do slight somebody by accident, or what we make them bring back, absolutely, that you violated.
I don't disagree with the sentiment, but I totally get what administration is saying, so we're asking them to picking and choosing what we're adding now, and we're already gonna miss 4, and we have this one, like we're, like here, I got the title of some scheme. Sounds like you didn't like thing, like there's something, and I like daily and monthly Filipino Heritage Day, like there's a zillion things that we're gonna let them pick and choose what they honor. And right, so if it's something that wants to be council driven, maybe you still have to go under the. The government independent or made itself, that I offer, something we should do when I cut some of them, like, okay, like, there's a lot of days and months, but I get what you're saying, I understand the purpose behind it, but to ask them to pick and choosing what's good and what's not, we're putting them in the top spot.
I think I'd also like to be, like, I think that's why I like the way initially that, during before, if there's an organization that's passionate about the cause, but their flag, their color, whatever is going on, that they send a letter to the administration. That way, we know what's, I think it's hard to sit here 7 and say, hey, this is what we're passionate about, but would be great to get.
Would that be the same guidelines, say council Adams passion about all of it? He should bring it up 3 weeks prior, or is it just for general public, or should council be in the same guidelines, like, hey, I think this case, would I like to bring it up, and give the administration the meeting and source as well?
I think the policy applies to any citizen.
Right, yeah, that could be, I mean, the policy is kind of written in terms of it's directed towards external organizations.
Yeah.
But there would be nothing stopping that counselor from adding it to an agenda and making a motion. And, yeah, given the appropriate time frame and that if council supports it, then.
challenge I have is honestly, in posting piece for the month of June, which honestly, I thought we just did every year. For the last 10 years. But, it's not happening. I'm very disappointed. I have a number of people have commented how disappointed they are. And not only from our community, but side. More than that they do, well, obviously it's getting possible somehow. So that's where I'm coming from, not where. I thought something like this, that it's so pronounced, there should be something.
How did it happen last week?
I'm not.
Well, that's.
But I was under the assumption, I guess the state of me, that we just did it every year as well, and I didn't even realize that the group had come and asked previously, so.
And
And I mean, if that's my messaging, then imagine how the public thinks, right? Like, they obviously don't, might not all understand that they do need to come up from us. So whatever we do decide, we need to make it very clear what the expectation is from that and give them the time to come and do that. But I see both points for sure. It'll be very hard to task administration to bring us a list. At the same time, we don't want anybody to be overlooked, and I want to encourage, fully community here as well, so.
Did we do the firefight last year? Yes or no?
I couldn't find a motion that directed it. So I wasn't here when that was, or very rarely, I was only here near the very end of June, so it would be for you to.
I probably did, but I couldn't find where it was. I can't find it online or something. I thought I had done it all 5 years I was on council, this year 6. I thought I would get support every time. I can't find it from last year, but for some reason, I thought we spoke about it last year. In this room, but I can't find it anywhere in minutes. You guys couldn't find it.
Not for 2022. We found a motion for 2021 to request to recognize it. But also keep in mind, prior to, I don't remember the date that flag policy just came in, but it's relatively new. So there really wasn't a policy prior to that. So it very easily could have been just a conversation. It could have been, or that could have taken
I
place.
remember in my first term on council, the delegation every year, but I don't remember last year what happened.
This policy was just put into place December
Yeah,
2022.
the delegation would come before us about how we had a delegation. No, we didn't for sure. I do remember thinking I wouldn't get it. I think I put it on.
Is there a motion there with their, what,
And I need a motion. But it is, that's a yearly thing, and that, no, but I can't remind.
Okay, so do you want to still pursue the bylaw, or I guess then, as per how the bylaw is already written.
Well, I think that's a policy, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm not excited, it's all, but.
Let me just double check here, sorry, guys.
Give yourself a reminder. And we'll remember next. Real, sure.
Then it's policy, we can take it now.
Yeah, but I just.
Bylaw.
It's council policy.
Yeah, so that's a policy. The other thing is, in that policy, it limits the flag flying to a week. A period of time up including a week.
If you look at this thing I was making, we're doing like. If you honor something I thought was honorable, you couldn't go over a week because there's literally, I'm not doing something every day, every week, every month, and you're gonna cross the. Other things, like you were suggesting, right, you're gonna be doing the conflict. So that's what I kind of saw on this lighting thing, so let the administration. Deal with the people that come forward rather than, hey guys, here's 48 groups we can honor. For 1 week a year, we have 4 weeks left, with nothing, we honor, like that's right, it's way too much. So, surprising both sides of this.
I think I'm thinking about all the time that's gonna be taken and the space that's gonna be taken, the organization that needs to be done, if depending on how far this extends, and are we gonna have 50 flags? Or is that gonna take an hour and a half every week? Are we gonna have one group saying, okay, well, we need to get in and do our delegation before that other group, even though that other group might. Who knows, to the public might be a little bit more important, and then we're kind of. You know, it's almost like then we need to come up with like some sort of criteria. So it may get very complicated as well.
It's just recognition.
Well, and that is the other issue is that we don't actually have a spare, especially at town hall, you don't have a spare flagpole. So you're flying a flag at the detriment or at the request of removing one. And typically you would not stack one flag on top of another as typically would be viewed as a disrespectful act. So just to keep that in mind, and I believe,
These are recognition, like.
Yeah.
Not actual.
no,
The town flag comes under the policy, the town flag comes down and whatever organization goes up.
there was a request, I believe, also at capital budget when we discussed about the potential of adding additional flags that flag poles to help address these issues that was not supported at that time.
I'd like to put it up now for the end of the month. Is what I want to do this, you already did.
Do we actually have one here that we could make this happen today?
Also just policy. Is that? how-
But we,
I'm asking, yeah, policy.
Well, I mean, you have a policy before you, you can make, a motion, also however you'd like to see it. I believe we have some sort of flag. I don't know necessarily the condition that it's in or the status that it is. But I believe we have something in our possession. So it could be facilitated.
Could be consolidated under the understanding that next year, the politics, yeah,
I'll make a motion that we raise the flag, as it's not as per our policy, but on the flag pole down from the end to 2023.
there's a vote on the floor, any further discussion? All the question, those in favor? And that is carried.
Thank you.
Do you have anything further?
I just don't have-
Does anyone else? have anything further? Period. Okay, so we will move forward. With State of Lake. I will leave both my fellow council first. Elder Hughes. Okay.
I just want to give a shout out to a couple of fishermen when they were stopped, Josh Trader, and on a bit of a tear, that's a couple of tournaments to go with those guys, congratulations for that. Congratulations to the organizers, both in the event, I know, post COVID and still is a couple years out, but it's hard to keep those events going, and it's nice to see it still taking place in Slave Lake. It's kind of for a little bit personal shout out, guys, that's the morning, legislature, my mother-in-law's swearing in. A lot of time, talking to different MLAs and ministers, and there's something that, they all agree with, that Slave Lake hasn't done its fair share for the past 12 years, I would just say, hey, they went as far back as well, so with that, so. I think if we, stay on our own MLA and kind of the federal government, we might actually see some results during the next 4 years as we go. Well, then we'll count like our set up there.
Continuing down the line, on Saturday, we had lemonade day in Slave Lake, so we had 12 lemonade stands, so I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our local young entrepreneurs. The best entrepreneur award went to Lemonade by Bella, the best lemonade stand went to Wrapped Made. Then they had a inflatable T-Rex, so that was one of the ones that I got to see. And the best tasting lemonade was lemonade with $5. So I just wanted to say congratulations to all of those that participated, and I think 12 lemonade stands is really indicative of the entrepreneurial spirit in our community. I also wanted to say congrats to all our 2023 grads as the school year winds to an end. The RMFS grad parade is going to be held on Saturday at 5 p.m. down Main Street, so we can celebrate one of our high schools. And finally, I wanted to highlight that tomorrow is National Indigenous Peoples' Day. And we recognize and celebrate the history, heritage, resilience, and diversity of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis across Canada. I had the pleasure of participating in the Region 5 Métis Nation events on the weekend. And I encourage everybody to look for those next year as it was a really wonderful afternoon.
Oh, you took mine.
Sorry.
And I think you took that.
I think it's-
Maybe I'll just mention, it might be the Olympic, I'm not sure. But it's like Chamber of Commerce is holding a quarterly meeting for its all its members. And it'll take place tomorrow evening at 6:30, 6 o'clock at Wonderland. So I'm encouraging local businesses who want to do a little bit of networking. Or who might want to get a little bit more involved in the community to come out for the event.
Motion to adjourn. Any further discussion? All in favor? That was carried.
Hey, give us a sec.